Chapter 64. Yuxiao knelt down to accept the 3-chapter agreement, while the book boy had a private life. By the time everyone dispersed, it was already time for the rooster to sing, and Simon King went to rest. Diane brought a large pot of wine and several plates of rice, and had to eat with Fu Fu and Chen Jingji in the shop. Mr. Fu, the old man, couldn't sit still after he had endured this. He took the lower bunk and fell on the king, saying to Diane, "You can eat in peace." Brother-in-law Chen doesn't even think about it anymore. Dan called Ping Ping'an, and the two of them drank the wine 1 cup at a time and 1 cup at a time. After taking the guy away, Ping'an went to sleep in the concierge. Diane closed the door of the shop, got on the king, and fell asleep with his two men opposite each other. Due to gossip, Mr. Fu said to Diane, "Your 6 mothers are gone, and it is enough for him to wait for the coffin to be recited and sent out." Diane said, "He is lucky, but he doesn't live long. My father spared me all this money, but he still can't use it. My Liu Nang married my father. I can't hide it from you, how much he brought with me. No one else can I know. I know, don't talk about money. I only have gold beads, jade belts, sash rings, knee buns, and valuable gems. I don't know how many. Why does my father feel so sad? It's not about people. It's about money." When it comes to Liu Niang's character, no one in the family is as good as him. She is humble and kind. She just smiles when she meets people. She never drinks from me or calls me slave every time. Every time I buy something, I only pick up pieces. I always say, "Mom, take the pieces and weigh them." He then smiles and says, "Take them and weigh them if you don't have a plan." What are you doing? Just do it for me. I bought it worth it. Which one of this family won't lend him money? They can only lend it out, and no one will return it. It doesn't matter whether they return it or not. It doesn't matter whether my aunt and my 3rd wife use money. It's just the 5th mother and the 2nd wife. Mom, you are so stingy. He is in charge, and I always suffer from plague. When I buy things from Hushang, I don't have enough money with you. I tie up a ghost, and a penny of silver is only worth 9.5 cents, and I am only 9 cents. Don't ever fail to pay for it. Mr. Fu said, "Your aunt is better," Diane said. "Although I am a good aunt, Mousy has a fiery temperament. When she comes home, she will kiss and talk to her every time. You just don't have to annoy her. No matter who it is, he will scold you a few words, anyway." It's not as good as Liu Niang, who has no complaints from everyone, and is always in front of my father to help me every time. When I ask about big things, I tell my father every time I ask him to help me. But Wu Niang always says, "See if I tell daddy." He only mentioned the beating in his mouth. Now, Sister Chunmai is also an achy star. All the people born in his family are in the same room. Mr. Fu said, "Your 5th wife has been here for several years," Dan said. "You old man knows this?" He remembers the time when he came here. He didn't recognize any of his own mothers. When he came, he snatched her away and left the house crying, now that Liu Niang is dead. This sits his world again in front of him. Tomorrow, if the gardener is cleaning the garden, he will scold him and spit it out. The two talked for a while, and then Mr. Fu fell asleep on the pillow. Diane was also drunk. He closed his eyes and didn't know the sky and the earth. He didn't get up until the 3rd day of the red sun. It turns out that Simon King often sleeps in front of the funeral. In the morning, when Yuxiao comes out to fold the bed, Simon King goes to the back to comb his hair. The book boy had his head shaggy, so he and the two of them chatted and teased each other in front for a long time before going to the back. Unexpectedly, Simon King went back to his room to rest on this day. Yuxiao chased people away and did not get up. He walked out secretly, made an appointment with the book boy, and went to work in the garden study. Unexpectedly, Pan Jinlian got up early and suddenly walked to the hall. She saw that the lamp before the funeral was gone, and there were tables and chairs scattered in the shed. No one was there, only the painting boy was there sweeping the floor. Jinlian said, "The thief's roots. You are the only one here. Where have they gone?" The painting boy said, "He hasn't gotten up yet." Jinlian said, "Put down the broom, go to the front, and say to your brother-in-law, bring a piece of white silk. Your grandma Pan is missing a filial piety skirt, and bring him a headband and beard tied around the waist. He is home today, go. The painting boy said, I'm afraid my brother-in-law is still sleeping. Wait until I ask him. After a long time, he came back and said, my brother-in-law said that he is not the boss. Brother Shetong and Brother Chue Ben are in charge of the filial piety account. My mother asked Brother Shetong if I want it. Jinlian said, you know where that slave is going. Go find him. The painting boy looked into the side room and said, I just came here and dared to go to the garden study to comb my hair. Jinlian said, you're going to throw yourself out of business. And wait until I ask where this prisoner will go. When I walked into the garden study room, I suddenly heard someone laughing inside. Opening the door, I saw Shetong and Yuxiao having a good time on the bed. Then he cursed. What a prisoner, you'd have done a good job. They were so frightened that they both knelt on the ground and begged. Jinlian said, thief prisoner Genzi, please bring me a piece of filial piety silk and a piece of cloth and send them to Grandma Pan's house. The book boy quickly brought it and handed it over. Jinlian came back to the room. Na Yuxiao followed her into the room, knelt down on the ground and said, Wu Nang, please don't tell me. Jinlian then asked, thieves of dog meat, tell me honestly, how many times have you stolen something in the past? Don't hide a word from me. Just leave it at that. Then, Yuxiao told him the reason for stealing with him. Jinlian said, since you want me to spare you, you must do 3 things from me. Yuxiao said, Mom, please forgive me. If you ask me a few questions, I'll do it. Jinlian said, the first thing is, if there is anything big or small in your mother's room, command report it to me. If you don't tell me, I will find out and I won't let you go. The second thing, if I ask you what you want, you will bring it to me. The third thing is, your mother has never been pregnant. How come she is pregnant now? Yuxiao said, to be honest with Wu Niang, my mother did this and took Lady Zhu's medicine. There it is. Pan Jinlian remembered everything she heard, so she didn't say anything to Simon King. When the book boy saw Pan Jinlian sneer and led Yuxiao in, he knew that this matter was somewhat discordant. He packed up many handkerchiefs, sweat towels, toothbrushes, and hairpins in the study cabinet, and accepted favors. He also saved about 10 taels of silver and went to the front cabinet to trick Mr. Fu with 20 taels, saying only that he wanted to buy filial piety silk. He went out of the city, hired a captain, went to the pier, boarded a village boat, and went to his hometown in Suzhou. Exactly, smashing the jade cage and flying colorful phoenix, suddenly opening the golden lock and driving away the dragon. That day, Sister Li Gui, Wu Yin'er, and Zheng Aiyu all went home. In the morning, Prime Ministers Zhu Nixiang and Liu Nixiang sent people to carry 3 animals to the table to offer sacrifices and burn paper. He also gave each person a tael of silver to share the cost of staying with him, and called to Taoist singers to come and sit with Simon King during the day. I was waiting to send away the filial piety silk, and the boy looking for the book asked for the key, but he couldn't find it anywhere. Mr. Fu said, he asked me for 20 taels of silver from my counter this morning to buy filial piety silk. He claimed that his father told him that the filial piety silk was not enough, so he dared to buy it outside the door. Simon King said, I didn't tell him to do so. How can I ask you for money? On the one hand, he asked people to look for it in the silk shop outside the door. They could find it there. Yunyang said to Simon King, I guess this slave is a bit strange. I don't know what she said he got, but he took away a few taels of silver. You have to look around in the study. I'm afraid he took something else. Simon King walked to both study rooms and took a look. He saw that the keys in the warehouse were hanging on the wall. Many sweat towels and handkerchiefs were missing from the big cupboard, along with letters of gift money, buttons for picking teeth, etc. Simon King was furious and shouted. The officer in charge of the place came and ordered, come with me to visit the 3 streets and 2 alleys of every place. Got it there. It's exactly this. I'm not only anxious to return home, but the smoke and water in the 5 lakes are vast. That day, Prime Minister Zhu arrived in a sedan chair at noon. Simon King invited Uncle Wu, Earl Ying, and Wen Shukai to accompany him. He first went to the funeral to offer incense and asked about the deceased. Then he exchanged greetings with Simon King and said, "It's hurt. It's hurt. What disease did Madam have to cause the child to die?" Simon King said, "Unfortunately, he died of diarrhea." "Yes. Thank you, husband, for taking the trouble." Zhu Nixiang said, "It doesn't take long. I'll just express my intention." When he saw the hanging shadow, he said, "What a beautiful lady. She was young and enjoying happiness, but she died too early." When Shukai said from this side, "The unevenness of things is the result of their emotions. From poverty to longevity, there is a certain number. Even a saint cannot be strong." Zhu Nixiang turned around and saw Wen Shukai wearing clothes. So he asked, "Which school does this old man come from?" Wen Shukai bowed and said, "If the student is not talented, he will be named Fengxiang." Zhu Nixiang said, "Let me take a look at my wife's coffin." Simon King immediately raised the tents on both sides. Zhu Nixiang went in to look at it and praised him highly. "What a good deputy. How much did you buy it for? Is this coming?" Earl Ying said, "Please give me a try. Is it authentic? What's the name and appearance?" Zhu Nixiang looked at it carefully and said, "This board is either Jianchang or Vice Genuan." The count said, "Even Genuan is not worth much." Zhu Nixiang said, "The tallest one must be Yang Xuanyu." The earl said, "Yang Xuanyu is so thin and short. How can you look past it?" This board is still on top of Yang Xuanyu, and it is called Peach Blossom Cave. It is located in the Wuling River in Huguang. In the past, when the fishermen of the Tang dynasty entered this cave, he saw Mao Nu taking refuge here in the Qin dynasty. Soldiers, this is a rarely visited place. This board is more than 7 feet long, 4 inches thick, and 2 feet and a half wide. I also asked for 370 taels of silver to share half of it with my relatives. Father-in-law, you haven't seen it before. The ones that bloom fragrantly have flowers and colors both inside and outside. Zhu Nixiang said, "It is because of my wife's great fortune that I can enjoy this board. If I die tomorrow, I will not have such a gift." Uncle Wu said, "My father-in-law is easy to talk about. Those who have connections with the imperial court enjoy great titles and salaries. How can we foreign officials catch up with them? My husband is approaching the Qing dynasty. Long live Chrysostom." Seeing that the young master has been granted the title of king and his descendants are all wearing python waist jade, why not? Zhu Nixiang said, "This brother who can talk. May I ask for your last name?" Simon King said, "This is Brother Wu, my wife's brother, who is in charge of guarding thousands of households." Zhu Nixiang said, "Is this my wife's brother?" Simon King said, "No, he is the brother of Jingjing." Zhu Nixiang replied to Uncle Wu and said, "Master Wu, I am disappointed." After looking at it for a while, Simon King stepped into the rolling shed and placed a chair in front of it. Zhu Nixiang sat down and the tea maker brought some tea to eat. Zhu Nixiang said, "Eunuch Liu, why don't we do this, Rive? Ask me to welcome you as promised." The man in Xingyi knelt down and said, "Young man invites Eunuch Liu to come." Eunuch Liu's sedan has been served, so he's coming. Zhu Nixiang asked again, "Those to singing has love come yet?" Simon King said, "I came in the morning. Call up." After a while, he came up and kowtowed. Zhu Nixiang said, "Don't you do this every time you eat?" The man said, "Young man, I have eaten every time." Actor, sing and listen to my husband. Zhu Nixiang asked, "Where is the actor?" Simon King said, "They are a group of sea salt actors." Zhu Nixiang said, "That barbaric voice is so loud. Who knows what he is singing? Every time that sour man lives in the cold window. He suffers for 3 years, travels for 9 years, and comes to Beijing to take the exam with a piano, sword and bookcase on his back. And he gets as an official. He has no wife or children by his side, so he is a rare person. What do you, and I, a naked man and an old minister, do to him?" When Shukai laughed beside him and said, "My father-in-law is talking so unkindly. If they live together, they will sing in unison, and if they live in Chu, they will have the sound of Chu. My old father-in-law is in a high hall and a wide mansion. How can there be nothing that touches his heart?" Then Zhu Nixiang clapped his hands and laughed and said, "I forgot that Mr. Wen is here. You are here. Every foreign official only protects foreign officials." Wen Xiukai said, "Although he is a scholar bureaucrat, it is only a scholar's work. My husband cuts off one branch and damages the forest. The rabbit dies and the fox is sad. Everything hurts its kind." Zhu Nixiang said, "No, in a place, there are virtuous people and foolish people." As he was talking, people from the left and right suddenly reported, "Eunuch Liu has got off the sedan chair." Uncle Wu went out to welcome him and bowed to the spirit. After the ceremony was finished, Zhu Nixiang said, "Eunuch Liu, why did you come here just now?" Liu Nixiang said, "I came to visit Tang Shu from the north. I sat with him for a while and then sent him away." They sat down at separate tables and passed tea to each other. Yin asked and responded, "Hasn't the memorial table been put on the table?" The people below said, "Everything is ranged." Prime Minister Liu said, "Let's just burn the paper every time we go there." Simon King said, "My dear, I don't need to be too polite. I have already seen the courtesy in my head." Liu Nixiang said, "Why are you here? It's also a sacrifice." At that moment, the two ministers held incense, handed them 3 minutes of wine, and bowed down. Simon King said, "My dear, please get up." So he stood up after 2 prostrations. Simon King returned the bow and sat down in the shed. Then they cleared the banquet and handed the wine to sit down. The 2 of them sat on the left and right. Uncle Wu, Wen Xiukai, and Earl Ying followed, and Simon King accompanied him below. The disciples drumbeat, and he handed over the Guanmu Jiji post. The 2 ministers looked at it and picked out a passage from Liu Jiuan's White Rabbit. After singing for only a few times, I felt impatient and called to Taoist singers to play fishing drums. They sang side by side and loudly sang a set of the story Han Wen Gong embraces the blue pass in the snow. Zhu Nixiang then talked to Liu Nixiang and said, "Brother Liu, you don't know. Yesterday, on the 10th day of August, it rained heavily, and thunder and lightning shattered the altar for on the Ning temple inside. Many people in the palace were killed. The imperial court was greatly frightened and ordered officials to build provinces. They proclaimed Lingshu in the Shanking Palace day by day and established rituals. The slaughter was banned for 10 days. The Justice Department suspended executions, and all officials were not allowed to make any remarks. Yesterday, Dajin sent envoys to the outside world to cede 3 towns in the interior. According to Kaijing, the old thief, he wanted to grant it. The soldiers and horses in charge of the boy were handed over to the imperial censor Tanji, and the 10 ambassadors Huang in to control the troops and horses on the 3 sides. However, they refused and handed over too many officials for discussion. Yesterday, at the beginning of winter, Long Live came out to offer sacrifices to the Taimiao. A doctor from Taichung Temple named Fangjin was cleaning the temple in the morning. He saw bleeding from the cracks in the bricks of the Taimiao and a corner of the ground in the northeast part of the temple. He wrote a table and wrote a memorial to say Long Live. The official of the Department of Science and Technology came to this book and said that Tong was in charge and the eunuchs could not be crowned kings. Now I will send my officials immediately and take the gold medal to pick up the child in charge and return to the capital. Liu Nixiang said, "Now that you and I are working as local officials, we will not do anything in the court affairs. As the saying goes, one day is a day after another." Then the sky collapsed, and there were still for big men. By tomorrow, the affairs of the Song dynasty will be ruined by these sour people. King 19. Let's all have wine. He called the Taoist singer up and said, "Sing a story about Li Bai is greedy for drinking." The man stood in front of the banquet, beat the fishing drum, and sang again. He ate until sunset, and then ordered his servants to watch. The sedan got up. Simon King couldn't keep the money, so he sent it out of the gate and left with a shout. When he came back, he ordered the candles to be lit, the tables to be put down, leaving Uncle Wu, Count Yang, and Wen Xiukai to sit. He also asked the servants to invite Mr. Fu, Mr. Gan, Han Daoguo, Ben Dechuan, Chue Ben, and Chen Jingji to return. "Sit," He called his disciples and said, "Look for yesterday's yuanji and bring it up." Because he said to the earl, "The prime minister's family doesn't know the taste of southern opera. If I had known he wouldn't listen, I wouldn't have kept him today." The earl said, "Brother, I have failed you. In the life of the minister Shichu, he only likes languanji and playing the boys' folk songs and wild tunes, where the joys and sorrows of Xiao's big pass are heard. So the people below beat the drum board and played yesterday. I had to sing endless numbers from the story of the yuan one by one and perform them all in slow motion." Simon King ordered the servants to pour fine wine frequently at the banquet. The Earl and Simon King were sitting at the same table and asked, "His 3 sisters haven't gone home yet. Why didn't they call out and give them a glass of wine?" Simon King said, "You still think about that dream? Every time he goes there I'm so impatient." The Earl asked, "How long has he stayed here for 2 or 3 days?" Simon King said, "Wu Yin'er has lived here for a long time." That day, everyone sat down until the 3rd watch. When the opera was finished, they got up and dispersed. Simon King invited Uncle Wu to come early tomorrow to accompany the officials. He gave the actor for Tales of Silver and sent him out. On the next day, Zhou Xiaobai, Jingdu Prison, Zhang Tuanlian, Jia Tixing, and many officials in Hue all pooled their funds to set up a table for pigs and sheep to eat as a memorial, and the ritual students read out blessings. Simon King prepared a banquet, and Li Ming and 3 other young ladies waited on him. At noon, only the sound of drums can be heard, and the ceremony has arrived. Uncle Wu, Count Ying, and Wen Shukai greeted him at the door. They saw people shouting from behind, and all the officials dismounted and changed clothes in the front hall. After a long time, the sacrifices were put down and all the officials came to the funeral. Simon King and Chen Jingji returned the gift. The ceremonial student drank the ceremony, and after the 3 offerings were completed, he knelt beside him and read the blessings, and then the ceremony was completed. When Simon King came down and thanked him, Uncle Wu and others asked the officials to go to the rolling booth, where they took off their plain clothes. After tea, they sat down on the banquet and exchanged glasses of wine. They drank wine diligently. Li Ming and 3 other little boys were playing and singing on silver zither and sandalwood boards. All the officials drank happily until sunset. Simon King wanted to leave Uncle Wu to sit with everyone. Uncle Wu said, "Everyone has been here for several days. My brother-in-law has worked hard too. Let's go and have a rest." He then said goodbye and went home. Exactly, green peaches are planted in the sky, and red apricots are planted in the clouds near the sun. Rich people in the family tend to follow you, and they don't talk about money when they have a lot of money in their hands.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.